Welcome back, boils and ghouls, to the Theater of Blood horror show. And today, Anthony
Yes, I'm here.
and I
That's Matt.
will be discussing Stephen King's It.
The current film version, the 2017 version that is getting a little buzz out there.
Quite a lot of buzz.
Yeah.
136 million its first opening weekend in September for an R-rated movie buzz.
Yeah, it's breaking. It broke the all-time horror opening weekend
Record.
in September record, or is
Yeah.
that ever record?
I think it is ever record.
Ever, yeah.
And it's the biggest in September.
It's pretty big. They've already started writing part 2.
Thankfully.
They were probably just waiting. Okay, please be a hit so we can finish the movie. So yeah. Anyway, we saw it, and we are going to review it. And where do I start? Where do we start? Where does it all begin?
I think we have to start with Jack Tripper.
Jack Tripper.
Yes. Oh, wait, wrong movie.
Yeah, the two nubile... sorry, Three's Company, folks. No, It, that's the reference to the late, great John Ritter from the original It television miniseries. The new It, 2017. You start, Matt.
Well, let me say that this is my favorite Stephen King singular novel. Love the Dark Tower series, but of his singular novels, it is probably my favorite. First read it when I was on vacation in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, at my grandparents' place that had less people in its town than I did in my high school, and it terrified the crap out of me. I reread it twice. Once another time, and then once now to prepare for this film. And my overall impression, though there was stuff I didn't see from the novel and had a lot of that in my brain having just reread it, was fantastic. It was really good.
Yeah, it was very good. I have a 5-star scale. I go 3.5. It's almost a perfect movie. You mentioned by the way, It is probably my second, third, fourth favorite. Salem's Lot is my favorite King novel. It is 2, 3, 4, somewhere in there. Probably 2 or 3.
Interchanges with a few others.
Yeah, sure. But as we talked about when we came out of the movie, with any film, big or small, adapted from a novel, you have to make some changes to make it more cinematic. There are a lot of changes in it, actually. A lot.
Yeah,
and
quite a bit.
They change... this one I don't think we should spoil, but they change a certain character's fate. One of the bullies. And
or several of them.
Well, yeah, but for me, the changes that were made in this film, and I spoke about this already to you, Matt, the changes that were made in this film from the book, I didn't mind them because nothing was glaringly... Nothing changed the story. Like I said, they kept the essence. They tweaked everything to make it a little more cinematic, tighter for a 2-hour and 15-minute movie, but it never lost the essence of the novel to me.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And that's something it took me a little time to come to grips with. When Anthony and I first walked out of the theater, I said I'm not disappointed, but I really wanted this and that from the novel and this and that. And I realized after thinking about it that you just couldn't squeeze all that in.
No, you can't. It's impossible. And they're going to have to do some changes in part 2 as well.
And in order to get it into the runtime that it was, they actually did a great job of not only carrying the story, but throwing mad amounts of Easter eggs in for the novel fans.
Definitely.
I mean, there was stuff all over that film that was there that if you read the novel was for you.
Mm-hmm. And a little nod to old Tim Curry there.
Ah, yes. In the clown room.
In the clown
scene.
room. He's for all you that don't have eagle eyes that have seen this movie.
Oh,
But it's pretty easy to see.
And it's on the preview. Like, it's literally one of the shots in the preview.
There's a doll, clown doll, that is all Tim Curry from It.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a nice touch.
Was indeed.
We'll get to old Sarsgaard in a minute, because there's a little bit to talk about Pennywise. But I loved, number one, Andy Muschietti, the director, who did, as his second full feature, who did Mama, which I loved. I love Mama. I love it, love it, love it. And the second and third
I really
time,
liked it.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
I just love it. I think it's original, very well directed. This guy's a good, based on he's 100% so far as horror. He knows how to create the proper horror atmosphere. He knows his camera placement is, in Mama, It was genius at times, genius. And what he does with Pennywise, instead of one thing, and I don't want to turn this into a comparison to the original miniseries, which was fine in its day. It was fine, and Tim Curry is still fine. He's awesome,
the man.
But in that film, in the original miniseries, Curry was always out and about. I mean, forget about the sewer scene, where it's only his face, but he's out digging that grave. He's in the backyard. He's out in the sun, and he's creepy, but it's fun.
Yeah, kind of silly at the same time too.
The way the director of the new It, Muschietti, shoots Pennywise with, it's really well done. My two favorite moments, speaking directorially, as how he dealt with revealing Pennywise. I'll give you my number two first. The balloons, which they show in the preview, where he's standing in the distance with a triangular shape of balloons, and it slowly rises up, and there's his eyes looking directly at the kids / us through the camera shot. And the director wisely chooses not to do some kind of zoom with loud music to make us jolt. He doesn't cut to a close-up. It's the far shot. The balloons slowly go up, and right at the moment his face is almost fully revealed, then he cuts to the close-up. And I think that was very effective in how he shot that sequence. And my favorite one, I was giddy.
I remember in the theater. You pointed it out.
The slideshow. I was, Jesus Christ, that's how you do it, where they're watching the slides and the slide machine projector, whatever the hell those are called.
Which was super hinted at in the previews.
Oh yeah, you see it, but seeing the scene fully and how it plays out is wonderful.
The payoff to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just wonderful how he doesn't, once Pennywise is revealed, which is immediately, basically, it's in the sewer, he's full face, there he is.
Right. In the very, very beginning of the film with Jordan.
A lot of directors, including Tommy Lee Wallace, who did the first one, the miniseries. A lot of directors, he's revealed now, so like I just said about Tim Curry, here he is, he's out, he's all the time, here he is. But Andy Muschietti, wisely, every time Pennywise shows up, he gives us a new creep, a new way to show him, a new reveal, a new, where's he coming from?
Which is much like the book.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of all the forms that it takes. The clown is just its default favorite character.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's not its true form. I mean, its true form is something that human beings can't really comprehend without going insane.
Yeah.
Maybe it looks like a spider. That's one thing that's kind of true at the end of the mini-series to the novel. But not really. It's just the closest thing that we can see.
Yeah, it's just what we
And it's actually more of like a light being of the deadlights and exists outside of here in the multiverse.
Yeah. But I mean, I like that he kept that, the director. I like that he kept every time. It's not just, all right, you've seen him, so here he is. It's, Here he is, slowly rising out of the water.
Right.
Here he is, the balloons. Here he is, the slideshow. Every time Pennywise comes back, it's a new creep, and I love it. And I think he was. I think Muschietti,
So you're speaking about his appearances as opposed to the forms he takes.
right? I'm talking
and the
about
other scares. Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about his
I gotcha.
appearances. Yeah, the way he chose to do it. And since you brought that up, his other form, the painting, was terrifying. You're right. Yeah.
Painting was terrifying. Patrick Hockstetter, seeing what he saw downstairs, it was terrifying. The what Mike saw when the door opened behind the plastic, was pretty creepy.
And we pretty good all that way. We didn't say this at the beginning of the show, but we're a week out now, and as far as a lot of our fans, and I'll post this when I'll type something when I post this, but this is not a spoiler-free review.
Yeah,
he says mid-review.
Yeah,
but it's not. But I'll post it on the page when I. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there because we just nailed about 7 in a row in like 30 seconds.
Yeah. Let's go into all of them then.
Yeah, right.
All right. So I'll start with the lessers. The headless kid from the Ironworks explosion is a great tie into the novel.
I didn't like that.
But
visually.
the creep didn't work as much. That felt very CG. It almost felt like something out of like Goosebumps. You know what I mean?
I like the Goosebumps. Hey, some of those are creepy.
Right. Well, I mean, if the headless kid came down a staircase and then started chasing me, I'd be pretty creeped out.
Yeah.
And it did have the, it's right behind you feel.
Yeah. But you're right. Visually, it didn't work in this film. And it's... I don't know why, but it didn't. I don't know. It didn't do it.
But the creep out when he's looking through the photo album, looking through the old newspapers, and he sees about the Ironworks explosion, and then finding the kid's head
in the tree,
is straight out of the novel.
Yes, it
is. So that's great. And then they found a way to incorporate that into the story in a new way. I thought, after reflection, was really cool.
Yeah.
And though the headless guy didn't work, it wasn't crap either.
No, it wasn't.
Like, it
oh
still
my God, this
carried
that
scene through its very quickly into its next scene.
Yeah,
and the whole movie paced very well, I felt.
I agree, and it's as far as that goes. I mean, don't misunderstand us there, folks. It doesn't. We just mean of all the scare scenes in this film, that's the one that just kind of, it's fine.
Right, or his interpretation of their fears.
But he's the painting, and then he's the clown, and of course, he's the clown 97% of the time.
Yeah, Richie's fear is the clown. Yeah. Mike's fear was the burning people.
And you get to see all the fears.
Yeah,
come to light.
And Georgie reincarnated was Bill's, and of course the clown behind it all, the leper.
Yeah,
the leper. I'm gonna say he wasn't bad, and I'm sure audiences reacted to him, but I was looking for something a little different visually.
Yeah,
the missing nose that looked kind of like a vagina was spot on.
Yeah, right. No, yeah.
But a little more of the skull showing through and some of the other traits from the novel I was looking for. But next worst for me, but again, still worked.
Yeah, I agree. It's just the Pennywise the clown and then the painting are so... And when I say terrifying, look, I like to be scared, but we're jaded. We've seen it all. Pennywise didn't scare me. It was just creepy.
Yeah.
And I liked it. But to modern horror, and I'm not talking down to them, but to modern horror audiences, Pennywise is going to scare the bejesus out of everyone. And that's why this movie's going to be the big hit, already is, the big hit that it is.
Yeah.
He's terrifying. Bill Skarsgård, that fucking family. Is there anybody not talented in that family? Bill, he's one of them.
Yeah, the
Bill
Skarsgårds
they're ridiculous.
Even the youngest brother is now taking up acting.
Is he really?
And Bill was like, in his interview with, I think, Jimmy Kimmel, he's like, yeah, and he's even younger and more handsome than me.
But no, Bill, look, we're here, so let's do it. Bill Skarsgård is fabulous.
Is it Skarsgård or Skarsgård?
It's Skarsgård. Not to be confused with Peter Skarsgård, the American actor, no relation to any of them.
Right.
Who apparently is pissing away his career. I don't know what the hell he's doing. But we should do a show on him on widescreen. I really like him. And what the hell happened, dude?
All right, total side rail.
Yeah, right. So anyway, no, Bill Skarsgård is wonderful. He's perfect. He's perfect. There's, in my opinion, nothing is wrong with his performance. He is great.
I can agree he was great. And here comes the big debate, people. You know,
We can
everybody
end it
out
right
there
now.
is just like, hey, you know, is it Tim Curry or is it Skarsgård?
Yes.
And the answer is yes. It's
Yes,
both of
it's
them.
both of them.
And I used an analogy earlier, talking to Anthony, that I think fits. It's like Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger playing the Joker. Both are different films, different tones, different audiences and interpretations. The original It film was made for television. It was made on a television budget. It was made for a television audience, meaning you could only go so far or be so scary or graphic. And Tim Burton's Batman was much the same way. He wanted it dark, but he still wanted a version of the TV show he grew up with. Whereas Christopher Nolan did The Dark Knight, which was a much darker Batman and a darker Joker to fit into that story. And much Muschietti's version of it. It was more true to the novel in some ways, whereas the miniseries followed more of the scenes accurately. This one felt like it felt the real pulse of the film more accurately.
Right.
And the darkness that was connected to it.
Right, but what we're saying about the clowns, they're the same. Flip side of the same coin. There's no who's better. They're both excellent.
Agreed.
Tim Curry's performance as Pennywise, iconic. Bill Skarsgård's performance as Pennywise, iconic.
I think it will be. I think it will be.
This coming Halloween, if you don't believe me, I want every listener to give me 5 cents for every Skarsgård Pennywise
Just give me a
costume
penny
they've
for
seen.
Pennywise.
Yeah, exactly.
A penny for Pennywise.
I'll be a millionaire.
Yeah.
A millionaire.
Yeah, there's going to be... Pennywise will be the Halloween costume this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're 100% correct.
Yeah, and he's got a few quotes you can do once you see the movie enough. And there was a few people that you could feel it in the air every time he was on screen. It was just people were having a good time.
You mean from the audience?
From the audience, yeah. People were having a good time. And then when few people made a happy clap when he, what's his name, says, let's go kill this fucking clown, at the end.
Right. Yeah, which brings in the connection that people had to the characters. I mean, your 7 main characters were all... who was the weak link in the chain?
As far as acting?
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you said that.
All
Guess
the 7
what?
kids.
Nobody. This is perfectly cast.
All
these kids are wonderful. And I should have looked up their names before we started this, but I'm sorry, kids. You're all great. And the one from Stranger Things is great in this too.
Yeah.
And no, it's perfectly cast. The kids are I don't know. I can't. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah,
they're fine. Everybody's great.
Played their roles perfectly. Yeah. I didn't. Initially, I had a problem with them updating the age of them from, late elementary school, early middle school kids to high school kids. But it fit.
Well, they were freshmen.
Yeah, they were freshmen. You know what I mean? They were young high school instead of end of elementary school into that season.
Yeah, I didn't mind that at all.
And I think one of my initial takeaways when I said there was some disappointment with the changes from the novel was that I did really love in the novel the way they told that age.
Yeah.
By, stupid things like, doing the dam build and, doing their little sweat lodge and things like that. That's stupid stuff I used to do in the woods. Whereas they really nailed young high school too, and the vernacular between the kids.
They did the same thing with the update.
The profanity that goes back and forth, the jokes of sex and this, that, and the other. Like they nailed teenage boys.
I was on your mom last night. All the mom jokes.
Yeah.
No, you're right. They nailed it, and that was, again, we spoke about that. Yeah, another change that worked. And you said about changing the timeline of the kids. I think it was even a strength for this version to change the era. They changed it to the 80s.
Yeah.
And
as opposed to 80s being the end story in the original novel.
It was the 40s in the original novel.
50s.
Was it 50s? Yeah.
Yeah, 27 years.
And I think something that worked really well by setting it in the 80s is that was, for any horror fan today, that was the time since the 1940s Universal monster movies. That was the time for horror.
Right.
1980 to 1990.
And that's why I really initially I was wondering, would he take the forms of 80s iconic horror monsters?
I'm glad that didn't happen.
Because, when they showed
in the novel.
I'm not going to lie, when I saw on the marquee the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 poster, I thought maybe Freddy would show up.
I think that would have been unwise.
I think so too.
I think it would have taken us out of it.
I think so too. It's a different time, but you can understand my train of thought because
I know, because in the novel he did the Universal monsters.
All the Universal, every single one showed up.
They didn't do Frankenstein, did they?
The Frankenstein did show up.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the one who took out Victor Chris and Bell Chuggins down in the sewers.
No, but I think that would have been a mistake. But I think it worked. It's one of the movie's strengths, setting it in the 80s. So you have this 80s horror movie feel. You have this 80s horror movie look. You have this tip of the hat to 80s horror movies, and a novel that was written in the 80s.
Also, Stranger Things just came out and totally glorified the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody's back on 80s, baby.
So here you go, a bunch of kids on bikes in the 80s.
Yep.
There we go.
The guys you thought were not ready to direct this movie, they just came out with a kick-ass series.
Exactly. They totally could have done this movie.
Maybe it all worked out for the best because the movie came out well, the series came out well.
Yeah.
Maybe we all win.
I think at the end of season 2, or maybe at the beginning, we should do a Stranger Things show.
Definitely.
By the way, my son just binge watched it. He loves it. Yes.
Yeah, so good.
We wanted to watch
everyone
it
loves
first
it.
at the time to make sure it wasn't too. But anyway, no. I think setting it in the 80s is one of its great strengths. It feels like an 80s horror movie. It really does.
Yeah, it has that feel.
Yeah.
The camaraderie between the kids, the building level of goodness versus evil, which isn't, done as much anymore.
No, it's not. It's a bunch of teenagers.
Not quite as revered as much.
There's a chick survives, and then the thing's over. But wait, it's not over, and part 2 comes in a couple of years. Yeah. No, you're right. This friendship is this strength of their survival
and the
film. Yeah. And I think it's very well written. It's very well directed. I don't have a lot more to say. We're going to be spinning our wheels here, but it's very well written, very well directed. It's one of the best Hollywood horror films to come out. I mean, I like The Conjurings, I like Insidious, but beyond all those, this is the best Hollywood horror film I've seen in a long time.
It's also one that there's been hype for movies lately that have let everyone down. I can't think of the last more hyped film, I can't think of
Yeah, this
the
was
last more
really
hyped
hyped. I think
horror film
kudos.
ever.
Yeah.
Never been a horror film hyped like this. And for it to live up to the expectations,
Yeah, and for some
be
exceed,
released,
yeah.
and explode the way that it has, thank you.
Exactly, and kudos.
Machete, thank you. You're showing that not only horror movies, but that R-rated movies can be made for a mass audience still.
Yeah.
And people will go if it's a good story.
Right. And kudos to Warner Brothers for really getting behind this movie and not just saying, like most studios now, it's a Transformers movie. Just do a little quick trailer, put it out, and then everybody will come. And Warner Brothers really got behind the promotion of this movie with the teaser posters way before they were even done filming. There were the first teaser poster I ever saw, and they were still filming it, from what I heard. It was a poster. It said September. Or no, I think it just said 2017. It was really
once Machete took over
and it had
over Fukunaga.
Yeah.
Fukunaga.
Right, but the poster had just a red balloon, and it said 2017.
Now that is something we should mention, while my brain's on it, that this is a film that almost fell apart.
Oh, yeah, twice.
Like, literally almost fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
The original director, stapled to it, walked away because of differences.
Yeah, that's never a good way to put it.
And
differences means problems.
Normally that means kind of like, we need to go back and reshoot some things like the Suicide Squad. And then you look how that turns out.
Yeah.
And in this case, when Machete came in, he actually wanted to incorporate more of the traditional novel back into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the changes that Cary Fukunaga, who directed the amazing first season of
True Detective.
I think a lot of the film script came from him.
Yeah, well, he's credited as one of the writers.
Yeah, he's still credited. Yeah, I think some things really came
some
from,
of his stuff is still in there. I'd like to know.
Yeah, I'd like to know what his
and what's everybody else's.
Because I got that feel. Like the first season of True Detective, it really blew me away and really got me interested. And I felt some of that coming from this. But Machete coming in and maybe taking it back to the source material a little more really is what grounded all audiences.
Yeah, it did.
Not just the new audiences, but the fans of the book, too.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Get both sides.
And I think there are a couple haters out there I've seen in horror groups, but that's just people trying to be different. I can't imagine if you're a horror fan, you hate this movie. You may not like it. I cannot fathom a horror fan hating this movie. Yeah. You can be disappointed. You might not like this or that, but again, we speak about this often. This is the era where people like to be different and get on and trash what everybody else likes.
They're the same guys that will be like, oh, but then look at my review of Treevenge.
Treevenge. Yeah, no, it's the same guys who, Christopher Nolan, he's overrated. But no, it is a wonderful. We should probably wrap up the review here. It is a wonderful, wonderful film. Not just horror film. It's a well-made film, well-written, well-acted, well-directed. And for horror fans, it is a long time coming and one of my top 5 most successful Stephen King adaptations of them all.
I would agree. It's high on the list. Took me a little while to come to that, but I really can't wait to see it again.
Yeah,
and so that says more to me. That I'm still thinking about the film, and I want to see it again.
Right.
So that's really, really good, especially for my favorite Stephen King novel.
Yeah, I mean, like I said to you earlier, imagine if it would have sucked. How you would feel. That's why.
Such a disappointment.
That's why I say what I said.
Dark Tower.
The changes, are. They have to do these things, and I don't think it hurt. The changes he makes in this film does not hurt the essence of it. at all.
Yeah, and you're right, and the things that he included, just little nods for the fans. The Paul Bunyan statue, the subtle way turtles pop up into it, which is the antagonist to it. The so many little nods.
There's so many little nuances, and I'm glad he did that.
Freezies on a T-shirt, and
Yeah.
so much stuff from the novel. The names of the characters that had died.
Let's not give them all away. Shit.
Well, if you're not a novel fan, you wouldn't realize.
Yeah, but no, I'm glad he did that. Little tips of the hat to the novel. Like I said, the essence is still there, and I think it 3.5 stars out of 5. I think it is a great modern horror film.
I think it's well worth the price of admission. Go out there, support the film, help an R-rated horror film boost to crazy numbers. It'll only help you, horror fans.
Yep.
Get out there.
Do it. See it. All right, and tell us your thoughts on the page once you do.
Appreciate all the new members that have just joined us.
Yeah, we had a little almost 30-member jump over the last few days, so welcome to all the newbies.
And let's keep growing. Spread it around to your friends, and let's all talk horror.
All right. Well, thumbs up. 2 thumbs up here.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll see you on our next show. And our next show, we're going to finally give you our tribute to Toby Hooper. And until then, stay scared, boils and ghouls.
Later.